Hello. Today's podcast is with a very old friend of mine from undergrad, son of Anders or son of Anders, depending on how you read it. But he is a guitar player and songwriter who just came out with a new release on Spotify called Shadowblooms. It's available wherever you listen to your music, Spotify, Amazon, even YouTube. And he also has a very cool Instagram account where he plays originals and covers with a unique percussive finger style on his guitar. In our conversation, we get into his musical process, some of his philosophies on composing and improvising and performing. But before we get to that, please remember to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please visit my Patreon page. And if you sign up for the very lowest tier, just $3 a month on my Patreon, you can submit questions or topics for me to discuss on this show, either with a guest or by myself. Welcome to Music in Mind, with Anthony Calkin. All right, well, hello everybody. I'm here with son of Anders. We are actually old friends. We were, he's probably one of my best and oldest friends at this point in my life. And we met in undergrad at University of Wisconsin-Madison, both in the classical guitar studio studying with Javier Calderon. And we have this great story because we both kind of like hated each other for like a couple months. And then in guitar ensemble, I would just like, basically didn't do work and just joked around and laughed way too much. So, but yeah. So how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember getting that impression. I don't even remember why. I feel like we just both have interesting affects. Like I'm definitely a very loud person and and can come off obnoxious. So. And maybe I shouldn't even say come off obnoxious. I am obnoxious. So
well, I'm pretty obnoxious in my own way, too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, but that's true. It was always a funny memory to have. But yeah, man, I mean, it's been, what'd you say, almost 10 years, which...
That sounds right.
Jeez. Yeah.
2009, right?
No, 2010. I'm not that old.
Okay, you're not that
old. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, 2010. And then, good old Javier. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was, it's son of Anders, but no.
Oh, sorry.
But we were talking beforehand because I have I don't know. I haven't figured out how to sort of separate the public and private persona yet. But all opinions are my own and all that good political, lawyer lingo. Not that we're going to get anything too crazy, but but we might.
Maybe we might.
Yeah. Only time will tell.
The door's open.
No, thanks for inviting me on. I think this is the second time.
Yes.
Because the first time I was on, probably one of the earlier ones with my brother.
Yep.
Mark Anderson. So
yeah, well, yeah, and he's been on twice now.
Oh yeah, and my sister, I think too, right?
Yeah, the whole family.
Yeah. So yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, your poor listeners, they're just oversaturated with Andersons.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. But so son of Anders.
I don't know. Yeah. I've had that question, and believe it or not, because I'm just an open mic person basically before I moved to Texas. I was doing a lot of open mics in DC, and I just remember that was I never really thought about it, and then somebody asked me that question, so I don't really care,
Right.
I should say. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Know. I guess Anderson, it would make sense. I guess it'd be son of Anders, but Anders, right. I think I end up saying son of Anders too.
Yeah.
And what the hell? It's Eric Anderson. It's my real name.
You ruined it. Now you're in trouble.
I know. I feel pretentious when I was going by a pseudonym.
Well, I was considering just calling you son.
Yeah, that'd be okay with that.
Yeah. So you just came out with 3 new tracks, right?
Yeah,
that dropped on Spotify and YouTube and everything.
Yeah, everywhere except for CD. Yeah.
Well, nobody's doing that anymore.
I guess not.
It's interesting when I have friends who are in bands who put out CDs because I don't really understand the desire to do that. I kind of get the vinyl thing. But I think putting out a CD at this point doesn't really make any sense. I don't even have a way to play one anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think I still have a USB input that I can play a CD with, but yeah, no. And I guess vinyl people, yeah, I guess there's the, there's part of it's like the artwork thing too.
Yep.
I think people like it, but yeah, apparently, I guess, yeah, you listen to it and there's like a warmer sound or something. But yeah, I agree completely. And actually, this is the second. Oh, this is really the fourth thing I've put out, but I've taken two of them down because I have the freedom to do that. I'm like Kanye, No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I feel like the algorithm that like there is a lossy compression that all streaming sites obviously put on music, and I do feel like it's gotten a lot better. Like, like I don't know. It's just I listened to it when it, obviously when it first went up, and I was just thinking, like, oh man, this sounds better than what I had mastered it as. Because everything I'm doing is
that's crazy.
I think so. I think it flattened everything out a little bit better because I was doing everything. This is just basically, as much as I sort of hate to call it this, it really is just a hobby at this point. And I was talking to my therapist about this actually because I always kind of looked at it as I never liked referring it to like a hobby. Because music has, this. I mean, you knew me primarily as a musician,
Right.
And then I transferred into sort of the sciences, and yeah, I don't know. I just felt like, I always never really liked to call it, or it felt like I was diminishing it, I guess, to get the thought out of my mouth. And yeah, sorry, you get in your own head when you're on these podcasts.
Yeah.
You're looking at, now
Especially
you're on
mine,
Zoom.
high pressure.
It's true. I'm shaking.
Oh no, it'll be okay. It's
Yeah.
good.
No. But yeah, no. So the point is though that I was, this is just for fun, and so I haven't really paid anybody to do anything.
Right.
So that's why it sounds so amateurish. But and part of it's I just want to get better at it too.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had a question about that with Socrates' Demon.
Oh yeah, Socrates Demon.
It's a really cool track. I think it's my favorite track of the set.
Yeah.
It reminds me of 90s tracker music a lot. I don't know if you've listened to any of that.
No, but I was listening to a lot of John Frusciante's newest album, which was based off of like 90s jungle, I guess. Which I don't know I don't know really anything about. And I was listening to a lot of house music.
Right.
Yeah. So that was, and I was running. So I wanted a clip. I wanted a song that I could run to basically.
Nice.
So it's like
Yeah, that's
132 BPMs and
Cool.
It's a good pace for me. And
How does that convert to MPH?
Good question. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. That was definitely the first foray into that kind of electronic, genre. And yeah, I don't, I'd never done, you and I have been around. Sorry. I've been around. I feel like when we were in college, the big thing was that like, that whatever, I don't know, maybe there's a technical term for it.
Well, I feel like dubstep was like at its peak.
Yes, Deadmau 5, he was killing it, playing at the stadiums, yeah, so that was like the first time I tried doing that kind of stuff, and it definitely gave me a better appreciation for obviously the technique behind making electronic music. And yeah, really, it was just I have a keyboard, and I like finally learned how to use the synth. What is it on Logic? I don't remember what the plugin is, but there's basically a synth plugin on Logic that's just really nice. You can the Alchemy. I think it's like the synth Alchemy.
Yeah, right. That sounds right.
Yeah, and it's just like you can basically make any sound, and it's really cool. So yeah, thanks.
I really like it. The compression aspect of it. I actually, since you brought up the compression that's streaming, well, it fucking
amateur.
Sucks. No. But I was interested because a lot of it has a very, very compressed feel. But Socrates' Demon feels sort of more expansive in terms of its sound world.
I think it's because I use mostly artificial instruments. Because my biggest thing, and this is actually, I'm working on new stuff. Yeah, I'm always working on new stuff, just kind of on the side. And one of the reasons I would say my skill is actually as an acoustic guitarist. Like that's where, but I've never really felt, very good about the guitar, like the acoustic sound that I record. I've always been, and that's kind of why I haven't. I would love to put out just an only acoustic album to finally sort of capture the style that I've been, I would say, working the most on, the percussion stuff. Shout out to myself on Instagram.
But, we'll get to that too.
No, I know.
There's a whole thing there. Yeah,
I'm just joking. Yeah.
Shout out to myself.
Yeah. See what this is like coming out with a pseudonym and shouting myself out. Yeah, it's great. But I've never really felt like good about the recording quality of like capturing acoustic instruments just because, I think it's a lot harder to wrangle the frequency spectrum when you're dealing with acoustic instruments. So I should say, like, I have some obviously sound engineering experience, only live sound. I worked, live sound in college. Right. At our alma mater. Oh yeah. And go Badgers. Yeah. I never got called out for the Midwest accent until I came down.
Well, just now that was strong. Go Badgers.
Yeah, no, I mean it's our friend John, our mutual friend John. I feel like I have a memory of him. Anyway. I just try to think about him when I do it. But shout out to John.
Yeah, right. Hi, John. I bet he's listening.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, so with the artificial instruments, when you look at the frequency spectrum, it really isn't, you don't have a bunch of high frequency, wherever it is, it's staying within a relative like range, which I think really helps to make it sound more expansive. Because I agree completely with your assessment of the sort of expansive quality of the sound. I mean, the first song, Shadowblooms, is the most acoustic, and it was the hardest to mix. Yeah. And I'd been mixing it for like a year, and I was finally like, this isn't getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. I just need to put it out and move on. So
I think it's very cool. That one kind of has like an AWOL Nation. Is that band?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of get that vibe with the sort of the triplet groove and the the melody. It's very cool. I like it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I mean, I think the one I'm most happy with in terms of mixing and just the sound is probably Electric Oranges, actually.
Okay.
And I was kind of trying to channel like John Frusciante's Murderers, if you know that song. It's just, an acoustic song, or acoustic meaning just guitar, no singing, but it's electric guitar. I shouldn't say acoustic. And so that was kind of the inspiration for that one. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just rambling now.
No, it's okay. I mean, that one, the middle one, is it Electric Oranges? Is that what?
Yeah.
It's I would say it's the most virtuosic. It's kind of this interesting set of three, because it really kind of captures these three different pieces of where at least I'm understanding your music to be, with the songwriting and the virtuosity, which it seems like you've developed a great deal of like rhythmic skill and right hand skill in terms of rhythm and technique and all sorts of things, specifically on the acoustic guitar, but on the electric too. And then like that electronic world in Socrates' Demon, which like is this whole other thing, but it's still related rhythmically to all the others.
Yeah, well, you're putting your education well to work, because that's a good motif finding, I would say, or whatever, whatever. I've already forgotten all the terminology.
So undergrad theory, they'd be like, yes, Good job.
Yeah. Shout out to Brian Heyer.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know.
No, he's cool. Actually, as a tangent, I feel like what I learned from him, I sort of re-internalized a couple years ago, and especially his work with species counterpoint and bass lines and listening to bass lines has opened up the way I listen to music sort of again.
No, I mean, I agree completely. I remember feeling like a little bit of, I wouldn't say angst, but I just know that our music theory program was different from like most others.
Yeah,
but
we're talking about the music theory,
Yes.
the first year music theory program at UW, by the way.
Yeah. Madison.
Yeah, right.
Not Washington.
Right. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. But I agree completely. And actually, I actually was doing a competition towards the end of my time at Wisconsin and sought out his opinion about, I was doing like a Bach partita. You probably remember because, we lived together for 3 years and I've played it a million times and never really got it.
That was me with a lot of classical tunes too.
Yeah. It's still like the hardest thing to play on guitar is any classical, but Bach in particular.
Yep.
And Bach. You got to be like hocking a loogie when you say it.
Hocking a loogie. There we go. There's that accent.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That one was Chicago coming out. Hey, I'm just a regular guy. So anyway, I bring him up because, he was all about sort of phrasing, looking for the phrasing, the phraseology of music. I hadn't actually even considered rhythmic comparisons between the two. I think it's just it's something subconscious that happens though when you're writing stuff at the same time. You just end up falling into certain rhythms that you do over and over again. Ad infinitum.
I mean, I think it's related to things like fluency. Right, and the idea, like I think about this with John Coltrane a lot, and a jazz practice where it just becomes so internalized because he was so regimented with how he would practice things.
Right.
To the point where he was completely fluent in all of these different worlds, and he could just move through them without thinking. So while you're soloing, or while you're playing, or while you're writing, you're not thinking, oh yeah, how do I make an A minor 7 chord? It's just there when you want it.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it sort of gets in like, because I have a neuroscience interest, I would say sort of a career interest, and which gets me thinking about the mind a lot. And from a biological perspective, but also a philosophical perspective. And it's definitely the older I get and the more I reflect on sort of what we do as musicians, it really is, you're just trying to program yourself, as you said. And so that you don't have to think, and you only are existing in the moment when you're performing. Right. And I feel like, you and I definitely have talked about those experiences where you're, again, getting back to Bach and playing, a Bach fugue. I mean, I have so many memories of playing that, and then I'll just like start to think about how like, oh man, this is going well, but it could start to not go well, and then it will not go well.
Yep, exactly.
It's good. You get out of your head and you're no longer in the moment, and you lose trust in yourself.
Yes.
And it was like listening at really proficient athletes is interesting because they almost hypnotize people talk about ego with musicians, anybody that does stuff well. But I think you do sort of have to convince, if you start doubting yourself, then you will inevitably mess up. Right. It's like you need to believe that you're the best if you're going to be the best. Obviously,
back to Kanye.
A little bit, And I mean, he is a musical genius. Like, I actually really like Kanye, and I find a lot of inspiration from his music. Nobody liked Yeezus, but I like Yeezus.
It was a great album.
Yeezus.
Have you listened to Donda, the new one?
Not as much as Yeezus, but No, but I've listened to some of it. I've listened certainly to like the, Off the Grid, I think. Yeezus, I like back in the day listened to a lot, and that's probably the album I listened to the most. And it's really interesting with Kanye because you can see the influence that his sound has on the culture.
Oh yeah.
Of not just hip hop, but everything from rock and roll and stuff. And I find that interesting with all, like I didn't listen to a lot of pop music growing up, but I find that I listen to more pop music now.
Yeah.
And mostly because it is for that sort of, like, kind of having your finger on the pulse of what are the sounds people are really like, honing in on. It can sound like you're just trying to make a hit, but it is a really interesting question psychologically, it's like, what is it about these sort of acoustic patterns that are really resonating with people? Mm-hmm. Like right now with Lil Nas X, if you listen to Lil Nas X, there's this thing that he does a lot with the, or the person that produces his music. Mm-hmm. Where, they'll be like, they'll be copying, well, I guess this isn't just him. You see this a lot, but you'll have the vocals in octaves, right? Mm-hmm. But with him, for some reason, it sounds really pronounced. Maybe it's because all music has become a lot of pop music, I should say, has become really sparse. You don't have I should say, obviously, Ed Sheeran, people have been doing harmonies, but it was specifically like this octave, just parallel octaves, basically, of the melody line. And then there was like this triplet, I feel like, pop pattern back when we were in college that you would hear a lot. Oh, yeah. So it's just interesting, getting back to motifs. Yeah,
it's I was with you for a while listening in the idea of listening to pop music. I was probably in grad school. I was listening to the most pop music in my life, which is weird because I was doing all this really strange experimental music. Yeah, and I think the last couple of years I got kind of bummed out by it, and I feel like it's. I think it stagnated a long time ago, but I think it has become very boring to me.
Interesting.
Except Lil Nas X, actually, I think he is more interesting than most, and I think that there's a lot in pop music that has to do with production, like what you're talking about, little things like the way that octave harmonization is used and how it's mixed, and all that is arguably more important than any of the songs themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it feels to me like in pop music, also the wrong people are the stars. The producers and engineers do amazing work in that world.
Everybody would be nothing without the engineers and producers. Right.
And I don't know how to do any of that. So I can't get music sounding anything like that.
Yeah. And and I can't either. And I have legitimately been, not like to get it to sound like a pop song, but to sound, this is why I like pop music, is because you're listening to the best engineers and producers around. And I'm just like, how do they, even if you don't like the melody, it's just amazing. The punch that they're able to get. And we talked a year ago about, because I'm in a program that is getting me to do programming, coding, and just the all of the software engineering behind plugins is just really interesting. And and getting back to the mind, with the neuroscience stuff that I've done, there is actually a lot of digital signal processing theory that goes into, because a neuron is just it's an electrical wire in some ways, or at least, the axons and dendrites of neurons. And so a lot of it is just, it's the same sort of theories that are used in digital signal processing for computers and whatnot. Right. Filtering electrical signals and stuff like that. It really is all the same fundamentally. So it's just, it's interesting to dig into that too, and appreciate all these new plugins that are coming out. Now there's AI plugins. I actually messed around with one because, again, I was getting to a point where I just needed to not be working on this and do the things that I'm like getting paid to do, not that I have ever neglected that, but, I just needed to move on. Right. And so I played around with this one AI plugin, and you know it was okay. I ultimately didn't end up using it, but it's really interesting. You know.
Yeah. Do you know what the process was, like how it was built or what the algorithms
No,
were?
they don't go into that. And I could find the company's name if we want. It's a British company.
Okay.
It's yeah, I think it's like AI. Here, I can find it.
It's
But yeah, yeah. No, I mean, because they should be sponsoring, right?
right. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Sponsors. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's a really, yeah, no, they didn't go into that, but yeah, I mean, this is the other thing that is just interesting that is definitely going to transform things. Of just there's an underground revolution that some people are aware of, but that's going on with artificial intelligence. That's all based off of neural networks, which are just which are named because the theory is founded obviously with our theory of how the brain works, but is obviously a little bit different. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes in the future, and it does seem like it's getting to a point where if you just get the right plugin, you can start to like it becomes kind of easy to get some of these sounds. So,
Right.
But I don't know. I don't pay enough money. Sorry, but just to finish, I don't pay enough money. You know, like they still are really expensive. You know,
Yes.
some of like the really good ones. So anyway, sorry.
I think there's some interesting consequences to it being really easy to both make really good sounding music that's also easy to disseminate, in that it increases the competition level, and so it's much harder to stand out from the crowd, and it's harder to distinguish yourself, which then in turn also promotes new kinds of creativity. So if the creativity doesn't come from really, really good sounding music, because all music is really, really good sounding, what else can you do? Maybe you can make bad sounding music. Maybe you can have a punk revolution again, lo-fi, all this stuff, which is happening.
But I was going to say, yeah. There.
The AI side is also interesting. Like I have a friend at Georgia Tech who's been doing some work with big music studios where they will have AI finish songs for them. Really? In terms of lyric writing.
Huh.
Because the AI can kind of look at the lyrics you're writing and then compare that to all sorts of other songs that have similar lyric profiles. And then, write the last verse if you can't figure out how to write the last verse or something.
It's like, what is life? It's like, I was thinking about that too. Yeah.
But yeah. It's interesting because this same program is also learning how to rap and score films and do all sorts of crazy things.
Is it? Wait, sorry. You actually cut out when I think it's just my headphones. It cut out when you said the name. Who is this that's doing this?
His name's Richard Savory. He's a PhD student at Georgia Tech.
Okay, yeah. We've talked about him. Yeah, because he's got the what's
Robot.
the robot's name? Yeah.
Shimon.
Shimon, yeah.
That's right.
I listened to that rap. It's like actually very good.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
Yeah, and then I saw you jamming with it on playing drums, right?
That was fun. Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah. No, but it's like cool. It's also scary, but it's definitely I think the coolness factor outweighs the scary factor. At least right now, until they start wielding knives.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Boston Dynamics is much scarier than Georgia Tech.
Yeah, no. But Georgia Tech does a lot of really interesting stuff. Actually, one of, because I like getting into culturing neurons, and there's this group out there that's doing a lot of interesting work that, where they like hooked up basically a petri dish of neurons to an electrode, and so basically recorded the electrical signals coming from the neurons, and also, but it was a two-way electrode, so that they could also feed it inputs. And they basically, the long story short is they were able to make an arm, like a robotic arm, move and draw a picture using using the recursion of the network.
That's
to sort
crazy.
of learn. Yeah, it was very, very interesting. It was done in like 2007 though, and there hadn't been a lot of.
Okay.
I mean, the lab is still doing stuff, but I was surprised that I guess I don't know. Maybe there's application that I just missed. But yeah, no, I found that really interesting.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, because yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Georgia Tech's doing cool stuff. I guess
Yeah.
I'm not there, by the way.
All right, so we can check one off the list.
Yes.
How many other universities are there in the world?
Not many. Not many.
Yeah. Cool. So you have another musical piece to your practice, which is your Instagram/YouTube/TikTok videos, right?
Oh yeah.
Those are also awesome. Mostly covers. But also some new some originals. The last one you posted, I love that song.
Really?
That's your song, right?
Oh, yeah, that's mine. Yeah.
It's like got this great like bluesy rockish feel. It's not quite blues, but it's like pushing in that direction.
Yeah, no, Miles Adrift is the name. I haven't recorded it because again, it's like I haven't gotten a good I don't know. I'm working on a recording, but yeah, no, thank you. It's about heartbreak without going too into some personal stuff that happened to me over the past year. So yes, it's just some crazy stuff happened, and so I had to write about it. And yeah, I mean that's the thing is the interesting irony. I don't know even if it's irony of just definitely sadness, melancholy can definitely breed really good inspiration.
Right.
And so, I'm glad you like it. And yeah, I think getting back to sort of what I was saying before about like never wanting to really refer to music as a hobby, I think it's because it's like the songwriting has always been, ever since I started as a young lad, has always been an existential sort of outlet, I think for everybody really, of just like, so I don't know. But as you said, most of the stuff is covers just because, it's like, part of it was just trying to see how much could be translated to the acoustic guitar without anything, so trying like rap songs from rock and roll to obviously blues and rock can be, but yeah, it's really just, without any intention of anything coming from it. It's just an outlet to still play guitar,
Right.
It's fun. Then obviously been trying to kind of get better at melding percussion in with melody. Because there's just a lot of great acoustic guitarists on the internet now that you can.
That is true.
I feel like, it's great. Yeah, you start to think that you're good at guitar, and then you find somebody that's much better, like you.
I kind of gave up trying to be good at guitar and mostly just focus on what I want to do musically. More think about like my artistic direction. But that's what's interesting about your videos. Is actually you do have a very cohesive direction that seems very technique focused and arrangement focused. Because your arrangements are really cool because they're very you in terms of the percussion technique, and I don't even know what you call it. It's some variation of Raschiato or something like that.
Yeah, I think I call it like a quadruplet technique. Right. It's just but anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right. But then tapping, getting into that, and then muted finger style and all sorts of stuff. And so it's really this mishmash of a lot of things that feels actually very tied to the songwriting that I remember you doing when we lived together, and then we played a show together a few years ago when I feel like it wasn't quite as developed, or you hadn't developed it quite as far. No. But yeah, it's this trajectory. Like I do see an artistic vision in what you're doing, which is very cool.
Yeah, I've just been trying to replace Nat because he won't play with me anymore.
Nat's probably listening too. Hi, Nat.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, our other roommate. Shout out to him as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's just I'd always played music with my friends growing up,
right?
And then you get older and people start playing less. But I'd always have liked to sing and play guitar,
right?
And yeah, I don't know. It's like it wasn't ever really a conscious thing. It just sort of, it kind of was, I guess, from like flamenco was really what started the percussion aspect where, you just start by, just, tapping the pinky on the, when you go and do a raschiato.
Right.
and tapping it on the guitar body, and then it just sort of worked from there naturally of just trying to get like, what am I trying to get it to sound like? And then, yeah, over time, it's just, if you just keep doing something, it'll just turn into something. I feel like everybody that's creative sort of knows that on some level. You'd probably agree with that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, getting, I don't know, maybe not getting philosophical, or we don't have to get too philosophical, but that is something I've been thinking about of like,
Yeah.
I feel like efficiency and creativity actually often are working. I would go so far to say they work in contrary to one another.
Okay.
And yeah, it's like the things that I end up just sort of chugging along at, and I'm not really trying to get anywhere. I'm just trying to just move, ends up going to the best place, I guess.
Right. So something like a new technique, like a quadruplet raschiato or something like that. When you're employing it, it probably should be efficient at that point, right? So are you saying that the creativity, the inefficient creativity, comes beforehand when you have to come up with the idea, and then you have to figure out how to employ efficiency to make it happen, or something?
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I guess I would say that's a pretty good sort of capture of what I'm trying to say, because it's, yeah, I mean, with the quadruplet raschiato, I had an idea. It came out of sort of just trying to be ergonomic with things and being economical. Okay, so here's efficiency then, but I'm talking about, I guess, efficiency of movement versus efficiency of time, which I would say.
I see.
I guess they're sort of similar, but in just, if I'm trying to do like a percussion movement on the top of the guitar body, it sort of helps to be able to flip the thumb up,
right?
So that then when I go back down, I can just hit it on the body, I guess, and at the same time when I'm going down, because the whole technique is going up with the thumb, and then down with the middle finger, down with the thumb. So
right.
Up with the thumb, up with the middle finger, down with the middle finger, down with the thumb. I don't talk about this stuff at all, really. Like, it's kind of funny. It's all muscle memory at this point.
Right.
And so when I'm, if I'm going up and then I want to, get more efficient, more movement out of my hand, then, I'll go up with the middle as well. And then if I'm going down, then I'll hit down with the middle. But then maybe I don't want to make it a quadruple. It'll just be a triplet, and then I can use the thumb to sort of be a percussion backdrop. Right. So it was all just trying to like be efficient with the movements of the hand. And now I just feel like I'm talking back again. When I first talked about this, I was talking about efficiency of time, because it was I didn't set out to try to do this. It was just I was just playing, and then it sort of happened, I guess. And yeah. So, I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, it's okay. I'm thinking, I like the proportion idea of creativity and efficiency being somehow inversely proportional or something like that.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I should have brought it.
That's okay.
Brought it, yeah. No, I shouldn't have. It's probably stupid.
No.
We should probably...
I like it because it strikes me as true in some way, because if I'm sitting down in sort of a creative space, I'm taking a lot of time to think about things that, if time is sort of the essence, I'm not going to think about. So it feels like there is a truth there, because the way I'm using time is less efficient than if somebody's like, okay, you got to get up on stage and you have to play these AC/DC songs. And I'm not going to sit and be like, well, how do I really do the best bend on this? It's just like, whatever I need to do right now to get that done, that's what I do. That's efficient use of time, versus if I'm being creative and trying to really engage with the material or something like that.
Yeah, because it gets at the other, it ultimately for me always comes back to the psychology of just how the mind and the body work. Of, I actually look at, everything as behaviorally programmed to an extent. And so when you're just when you're just functioning in the moment, you know, you're basically working off of the body computations, if you want to think about it like that, of, you know, which you could think about it as your muscle movements and everything like that. And so, yeah, you're going to, in the moment, you know, you can, it's not to say you can't do creative things without thinking about it. You know, you can be putting things together in abstract ways, obviously. But yeah, in terms of like theorizing about things, that takes time, I would say, especially to go, you know, and then we could get into a whole thing about, is there anything actually even new? Which is why it's like, you know, it's like everything is sort of based off of something, right? But yeah, in the moment, I feel like you hang more on the things that you've programmed into your muscle movements. But when you're sitting down and practicing, you know, you have the time to sort of just kind of go more wayward places and then backtrack. I mean, I feel like it's the same reason why with writer's block, sometimes the best thing is just to get up and walk away for a bit and then come back. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Philosophy is hard.
It's interesting. No, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something I think about with the difference between composition and improvisation. And my general argument is actually I don't think that they're really different. I think that they are sort of different time scales of approximately the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, some people say improvisation is real-time composition or something, but I think all composition is essentially real-time. I don't know how you would act outside of time. You can think of things outside of time, but I don't know how you can do an action outside of time.
Yeah. I mean, well, this is an interesting question because, like, the way that I sort of represent the consciousness, I would say, is that like when you're only living in the moment, time doesn't exist, and then as you sort of begin to project and abstract into either the future or the past, that's when time becomes a thing. So it's the same reason why you're not really experiencing time when you're in a flow state or when you're asleep, and stuff like that. But no, I take your point though. I do feel like they are fundamentally sort of the same idea, which is why I'm starting to sort of fall back on, like, well, you know, what is this thing, efficiency and creativity? Because efficiency is doing something in less amount of time, it seems. Like doing the same, taking an act and then doing the same act in a less amount of time. Versus creativity, though, I guess, would be creating something, I guess, new. But yeah, it begs the question of what is even anything new?
Yeah, it's all narratives, man.
Yeah.
That's where I am. Everything. It's all narratives.
Yeah.
So another question about your Instagram presence.
Oh.
Yeah. Is your relationship to performance and an audience? Because like you were saying that you were doing a lot of open mics in DC. And it felt like you were trying to do or push towards live performance at one point. And you know, obviously you and I studied in music school where there was a lot of live performance going on. And there's definitely a vibe to, and sort of a brand, so to speak, to use kind of a crass description of what you're doing. But
that's okay. Yeah. This is the brand. This is the brand right here. This is Son of Anders. If you see the hat.
Right. Son of Anders. Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, so what do you feel like you have a relationship to an audience? Because some of your videos have done really well and have gotten like a lot of good feedback.
Some of them haven't. A lot of them haven't.
But you don't get bad feedback.
No, I don't. No.
I haven't seen any. I don't think.
No, I mean the worst feedback I get is on YouTube, and even then it's not bad. It's just, you know, I'll get dislikes, which don't really exist on Instagram. And actually, this is an aside, but an interesting thing about the YouTube algorithm is I have found like the more dislikes that a video gets, I think that then sort of triggers something to get the algorithm to expose it to more people. And yeah, because the more dislikes something gets, the more overall views, and then and then ends up getting
tricky bastards.
Yeah, it's like it's the whole thing about conflict or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, it's stupid, but yeah. So the question was just what's
Just
my relationship with the audience
to performance and audience?
Yeah.
Because I see music as being about connecting with other people, and this is where I struggle with things like sending everything online without much feedback. It feels kind of unfulfilling.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just like yeah, like you said, we've known each other a long time, and I was, the first thing I wanted to do was music. Like when I started thinking, like, what am I going to do professionally? It was be a musician of some kind, and I think ideally it would have been to be a singer-songwriter musician. And then honestly, what got me into sort of science and medicine was came out of the same things that I think attracted me to music, which was a philosophical interest in the mind and consciousness and I mean, not to be morbid, but death, is like, because, it's just, these are things that everybody, I think, thinks about. And so medicine and science are sort of trying to answer these. So all of that is just to say that my relationship with the audience and performance right now is trying to be as sort of like hands off and not even think about it. And because I have this other thing that's sort of the main thing in my life,
right,
this really is it's just a creative outlet, and it's not even that I'm thinking about it. It's that I couldn't stop even if I like tried. I feel like it's just, and I find there's definitely a direct correlation between the amount of stress that I'm feeling and the amount of things that I post on, like the amount of sketches that I'll post, because it really is just like I just need to get away from the stressful day-to-day stuff, and let me just go arrange like a song that I really like and see what I can do with it. And then, definitely, I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel good when, people do respond to it and like it. But yeah, I mean, I try not to think about it. And that's actually one reason why I've had a few people request songs, and sometimes I'll do it, but sometimes I won't. And that's mostly just because, it's really just, I don't have a lot of extra time, and I'm just doing this to sort of, for my own, and so if barely anybody's listening anyway. So that's the kind of the point, is like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just like, I don't know why I need to do this. I think I'd be lying again to say that I didn't. Everybody wants their art to be appreciated by somebody, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I believe anybody that says that not to be true. But but I also I would kind of be afraid of ever like getting famous, because people are very scary. People are terrifying. I mean, and criticism is really, yes. And, it's like criticism is really difficult, especially when you're putting out, I mean, like that song you brought up, Miles Adrift, that's a really personal song. And so it begs the question of like, well, why are you putting it out there? And I think the reason is because, I want to share it with some people.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, the internet is a terrifying place, and there's a lot of negativity, and I should be, a bigger person about that sort of stuff, but I haven't, like you said, I haven't had to deal with too much criticism, and so I don't know how I would take it if ever if ever something did blow up,
I see.
And on that note, I've definitely had, thoughts of just taking it all down too. I actually just finally backed up all my sketches and have started taking some of the sketches down, just because I don't know. I don't know. It's like this is more of a recent thing. Mostly just trying to figure out. It's like, what am I doing? So that's the point. I'm not really thinking about it. I guess to ultimately answer your question, what's my relationship with performance and the audience?
But you're thinking about it a little bit if you're taking them down, right?
Yes, I'm thinking about it now of like, well, okay. I mean, it's not even that I've done anything salacious, but
It's a good word.
thank you. But I could.
Salacious.
I mean, even right now, I'm showing a little bit too much. I'm realizing this V goes a little bit too deep.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't have enough chest hair to really,
Anyone listening, they're not getting the full experience here.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, no, but what's your relationship with
Yeah.
the audience? Because you are also like somebody that I've always admired, because it really has always felt like it's been just about, the music. And no,
Well,
but
that's
I mean,
good. I've cast the right illusion.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why we both like. Sorry, but that's why we both like. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. He was a pure comet, and he's just to the end.
Yep,
So anyway, sorry.
I agree. I agree with that. I do think though that I wrestle with it, because another thing that sticks in my head all the time is something that Laura Schweniger, who's another professor at University of Wisconsin-Madison, said to us in composition masterclass, was that I hope that none of you ever even consider an audience when you're writing music. And for me, I think that what is powerful about music is the shared experience, partially at least. And so, like, some of my favorite moments are playing on stage and, like, connecting with another musician. And we're just, like, in the pocket together and just going for it. And that is, like, the best experience of all time to me. Or if I'm playing and the audience is with me and we're, like, experiencing it together. Or I'm watching and they're playing or something like that. It's that kind of strange connection of consciousnesses, but not talking to each other, right? It's this weird, like, mystical space. I've been getting more mystical about music lately, which is weird. But
why do you think that's weird?
I don't know. It's part of my narratives thing. I'm in this space where I understand religion and mysticism in a way now that I never have. And I've always been like an ardent atheist, and I still am to a point. Like, the logical side of my brain is like, this is all bullshit, which I do think. And then at the same time, seeing the narrative power in it is eye-opening, I think. Mm-hmm. Not saying any of it's true, but the narrative power and how it can tell us stories about ourselves and breed connection between us is very interesting.
So by narrative, I guess, could you define what you mean by narrative? I think I know what you mean, but just so I'm like, so storytelling, or like a linear, cohesive sort of sequence of thoughts, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. So the narrative of music that I'm using currently is that music is magic. And as a musician, you are sort of a sorcerer. You're casting an illusion. And if you're doing it right, then the people around you are entranced, and then you are also entranced. And that's the shared experience, and that is the most powerful musical situation. And so to me, that is ultimately the goal, that I can cast a spell, quote, not literally, but in narrative sense with my music. And because of that, the audience is part of the relationship. But at the same time, I think, like what you're saying with Norm Macdonald, I think it is every successful comedian is doing something that feels true to them. They're saying, this is me, and this is how I interface with the world. And that in and of itself is powerful. Because if they're saying, no, what do you want to hear? What do you want to? And they're chasing their audience around, it feels weak and it sucks and nobody likes it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I would agree with that. When done masterfully,
right?
I would say, because that's the other thing I feel like, because a good artist is going to reveal something that maybe people don't even necessarily see in themselves until after they experience whatever the art is.
Right.
I think that's a good way of thinking about it. And again, for me, it always comes back to the brain. And because music, has that interesting ability to be associated with memory. Like you can hear a song and then be taken back to a certain point in your life. And so it is, it's magical in that sense. I would definitely agree. And in terms, so And it was also making me think because, like, you know, for what I'm doing, we have to do a lot of writing, and you know, it's not the fun sort of type of like creative writing. It's all about just getting a message across and sort of taking out as many adjectives as you can, honestly. And the first thing they tell you is to think about your audience too.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's just sort of what's the end game. But then I think that's maybe the great thing about art, and it gets back to this body computation thing that I feel like there's the you know, because you have the frontal cortex, but then you have the entirety, all of the other, you know, part of the nervous system that's running things. That's, you know, not that, you know, cohesive sort of singularity that we call awareness, and it's doing things. And I think that's what people call like the gut instinct, and, you know, and everything like that. And I feel like that's what art is sort of trying to get at, is that instinctual sort of body computation that everybody is, so, you know, and that's why music is so great, because it is this abstract thing that you can explain things in these really, the same thing with poetry is like, poetry is so great because it's about the ambiguity, because then you can sort of cast, in my opinion, you can then cast it on a bunch of different things. Yeah. That's a good question, Mr. Calkins.
Yeah. Ambiguity.
Antushka.
It's great.
Yeah.
There's an old one.
Yeah.
Right.
Ambiguity is great. I agree completely. I feel like and that's sort of, I feel like where a lot of the magic of art comes from is I don't know. It's like you're defining things in the perfect way where it's like you can, you know, because if you define it too specifically, then that sort of gets all the magic away from it. And then, you know, people automatically figure it out. But if you define it in such a way that then you can cast it on a bunch of different dimensions, and that, you know, gives it a bunch of different meanings, so that, you know, you can go and listen to a song and like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Which is why I would say I try not to think about stuff when I'm composing, because again, I feel like there's like the more I hone in on it, the more it becomes defined. But at the moment of composition, it's just about putting into practice all the things that you've been practicing, you know, whether it's, and so getting back to the percussion thing, it's like, that's all I've been trying to do, is just get a certain sound. I don't even really know what sound it is, but I know that I want it to be rhythmic and to have a certain like emphasis, and to do that, then you need to start to like hit the guitar. I'm also a very angry person, so, you know, so yeah.
You get pissed off at your guitar.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this guitar to I'm surprised that, I mean, it's like a $200 guitar that I've had since I was like 14.
It's the best kind. It's something with guitars. Guitars can be cheap. I feel like, you know, trumpet players and saxophone players, they have, you know, 20x blah, 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 $1,000 instruments, and classical guitar players do too. But I think there is something special about guitar in our society, because they are cheap instruments, and basically anybody can get one, and so many people play it. It's just, I don't know, it's like a special instrument in the US and the West.
No, it definitely is. And the economics of it, especially compared to piano, right? Which obviously was probably the guitar before guitar, like in terms of the amount of people that played it. And that thing's so expensive.
Cool. Do you want to play some music? Close us out? Sure. You want to try something?
Of course I do.
Yeah, of course you do. I bet you do. All right, I'm going to grab my banjo.
Okay. All right.
All right, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah, it's been a while since, I mean, I feel like even when we lived together, we didn't really jam that much. We always said we would, and then we never did. Same with me and Nat, though. I mean, I think it's me. I'm sensing a pattern.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks for having me on the podcast, man.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks for coming, talking about your music and playing a little bit. Son of Anders.
Yeah,
either way.
I don't even know. It's all good.
Yeah, but his music's on Spotify and YouTube, and he does cool covers and originals on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. So find his stuff. Links in the description. Thanks for coming on. Talk to you later.
See ya.
Thanks for watching or listening. That was Son of Anders. Go and listen to his new release, Shadowblooms, on Spotify or YouTube or Amazon or wherever you listen to your music. Check out his Instagram. You can hear him play some cool covers and some originals. And remember to leave a comment, and subscribe to my channels. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please visit my Patreon page. Thanks. Bye.